Dr. Rimka, your brain optimization expert. I specialize in functional medicine that looks at the human brain and human potential. I am versed in genetics, epigenetics, and so epigenetics is looking at how the environment and lifestyle affect our genetic imprinting. I'm super into something called like quantum biohacking, which is looking at the mitochondria and the physics around how the electrons run through the mitochondria. So I have been doing this stuff for 25 years, kind of investigating diets and exercise and supplements and different things like that. So there's a lot I have to deal with patients, and there's a lot of different diet protocols. But I'm going to say a bias right now. I'm going to basically say I'm very pro eating a tremendous amount of meat. And that is a full circle from where I was a very long time ago. I was actually a vegetarian for 14 years, 12 of which I was a practicing vegan. I took it very seriously. I'm very committed when I do any dietary discipline. And we all have our different reasons, whether they would be health-wise, emotional-wise, or spiritual-wise. But I have to say, I have to always learn and let myself be open to change. And I wasn't really happy about what I learned about vegetarianism and veganism as I was experiencing a downfall and decline in my own personal health that was chronic and devastating. And it took many, many people for many, many years to try and convince me to change my ways. And to go from where I was to all the way now to experimenting and participating in what is being dubbed the zero carb diet or carnivore diet or carnivore keto diet. Basically what that means, for the past almost 6 months, I have eaten nothing but meat. Okay, so meat. Now, I've done a little bit of plants in terms of coffee. I still do that. I've done some alcohol. I've had my polyphenols in wine, maybe a little tequila here and there. But in general, I am eating almost all meat and having a little bit of coffee and alcohol. That's what I've done for about 5-6 months and kind of experimenting. And I can talk about later questions how bad it was for me as a vegan. It was bad. So I didn't go from eating the standard American diet growing up as a kid, again in the 70s, just eating regular kind of food, all the way to becoming a vegetarian in college, to then having a drastic switch and going through like the Paracone diet and, you know, high salmon and macrobiotic, and then the Hippocratic Institute juicing. I've done all the juicing and the cleansings and the food combining and the water fasting and the juice cleansing and the coffee colonics and the regular, you know, colonics and the probiotic colonics and paleo, keto, low carb. I'm going to go through it. Done them all. South Beach diet, Atkins diet, any little thing, because again, that I'm in this field, I try everything. So when a patient comes to me, I either definitely read it to know what's going on in popular culture, and I might try it if I feel, well, I can run a 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12-month experiment, no problem. You know, it's like CrossFit was the big thing. I went and tried it. I hated it, but doesn't mean I didn't try it. And I tell people to go do CrossFit if I think it's a good fit for them. Great. Just because it wasn't a good fit for me doesn't mean it's not a good fit for you. So what I'm going to talk about, I'm not necessarily giving medical advice. I'm not your doctor. I'm not telling you to go do this. I'm telling you what I did, what I'm finding in my practice, and what's working really well for people. And it makes sense. I'm going to go through how, you know, I really feel I was brainwashed into being told you got to eat more vegetables. Totally brainwashed. Like, and at the end of the day, when we study it and you look at the studies, you look at whatever, it's like, why do people think vegetables are so good for them? And nobody, well, because that's what they say. I don't know who they are, but that's what's kind of going on. And in my studies and investigation, it's really stunning to me how few people, as far as evolutionary history, have ever eaten plants. And when they did eat them, they ate very few. And plants are pretty badass, you guys, okay? Because I'm going to tell you right now, nobody wants to be eaten, really. Even though we got Circle of Life, nobody wants to be eaten. But if I come up on, I don't know, a deer, an animal, it has some ways to try to protect itself against me from killing it. right? It can run, it can hide, it can camouflage, or it can kick or bite and claw me and maybe kill me, right? So animals can fight each other very easily and have ways of escaping. If I'm a tree, if I'm a plant, what can I do to stop you from trying to eat me, devour me, murder me? Not a whole lot in terms of fighting back, in terms of running, cutting you. So what they've come up with is a brilliant system of chemical warfare. So plants are stunningly genius and quite devious, and almost some of them have such genius ways. They mimic hormones, they mimic other signals to bring other invaders in to attack plants or bugs or animals that are trying to kill them, things that you ingest that cause tremendous sickness and mutations. All right, so how did I go from plants and vegetables are so great and animals are so bad, I'm going to become a vegetarian and a vegan, to I eat nothing but meat and animal product, period. And I feel so good, I have no intention on stopping anytime soon. I feel no reason to add any of those other things back into my diet. Based on all the research, not just my own feeling, based on all the research and all the explanations of what plant poisons really are, and what really ends up healing you, what I'm actually made of. So again, I'm a brain optimization expert. What I have to explain to everybody up in here, this is 70% fat, okay? All saturated fat and cholesterol, really. I am an animal. I have animal cells, all covered in cholesterol. Every single cell in my body makes cholesterol. It's the most powerful healing structural component of who you are. Outside of like your bones, which give you structure, you have your connective tissue, which gives you structure, you have cholesterol. So connective tissue, ligaments, again, joints, it's all muscle, animal tissue, right? And this, for me to take, so for me to turn something into human muscle, it's very hard for me to turn spinach into this. It's very easy for me to turn muscle into muscle. It's very easy for me to turn animal organ tissue into animal organ tissue. It's very easy for me to extrapolate that. My body's designed for it. Okay, there aren't any carbohydrates in my body short of around 2,000 calories of glycogen. We are not carbohydrates. You are nothing but animal protein, animal fat, and minerals. And where are the most minerals? Inside bones, inside bone marrow. Hence why bone broth is such a massive rage and a kick right now. So I have to deal with, because I deal with the brain and restoring brain function, right? One of my best things, I need a lot of fat in brains. I need a lot of cholesterol. I need that's protecting you. It's neuroprotective. And I deal with people who have a lot of gut disorders, because typically there's a massive gut disorder that caused there to be some leaky gut issue, things getting into the bloodstream that caused inflammation systemically and gone into the brain and gotten things into the brain. So I've had to learn to manage the gut with all my autism clients, anxiety and depression and bipolar things. There's always a massive gastrointestinal issue. I also have tremendous amounts of irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, just all the kind of weird autoimmune, can't figure it out, blah, 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 blah. I can't tell you how many people come to me, have been to many other doctors, naturopaths and this and that, and they are prescribed, actually tons of vegetables and superfoods and juicing and Vitamix and Blend-Tech, and it's like you take this inordinate amount of vegetables and titrate it down to something like this and drinking it. Well, there's no way you would ever eat that many pounds, you couldn't even masticate that many vegetables in one sitting, much less that. So it's a very unnatural way people are getting, and they're not getting any better. So then they come to me after 5-6 years of that, and they still have all the same gastrointestinal issues. So one of the big recommendations we do for GI issues is an elimination diet, right? So I'm saying all this, how did I go from vegetarian, vegan, all the way to full-on zero-carb carnivore? How did that happen? It's because I saw in clinical practice over and over and over again, vegetables were making my patients sick. And the more I took them away, the more I eliminated them, so they got better and better and better. I didn't understand why. It just kept being the case. Everybody who dealt with IBS, Crohn's, or ulcerative colitis, as a clinician, we all knew, well, the last thing you tell that person to eat is a salad, because it's like asking a person to eat a bowl of broken glass. You're literally shredding their already ripped apart, bleeding, ulcerative digestive system with raw roughage that they can't do anything with, that you can't digest. Fiber is a completely useless waste product. It's not a nutrient to a human being. It's just taking up space in your colon, and your body has to eliminate it constantly, and it rips through. And you're told some story that it helps. I've never had a GI disorder patient where fiber helped them feel better. You know, they could get a temporary relief. Like I have patients with IBS that say, well, the Diet Coke helps it feel better because it helped them burp, but it's not healing them. It just gives them a temporary pain relief, like an opioid can do, right? So how I got there was in clinical practice. I saw the more and more vegetables people ate, and the more and more I removed them, the better they got. And I had to see over myself, my decline as a vegan left me with severe endocrine disorders. I ended up being, somebody asked, so in my 30s at that point, after 12 years, I came across some really great PhDs, some geneticists, endocrinologists, and they were about the 7th or 8th doctors along the lines that had to say, and many were friends of mine, and said, this is going to kill you if you continue. And finally, you know, in my early 30s, to hear you're in menopause, your estrogen is at 35, your thyroid, you know, is shut down, the pituitary is shutting down, like everything is, your whole, my endocrine system. I was overweight. I was much heavier than this. I wasn't huge, but I was definitely, I carried a lot more weight. I was tired, fatigued. I was having hot flashes. It was one of my good friends. Most of my friends are 15, 20 years older than me. I was describing, and she goes, you're having hot flashes. This sounds like menopause. Like that's up all night sweating, and that's menopause. Why? You're too young for this. Just, you need to get your shit checked. You really need to get your hormones checked. So that was my early 30s. So then I was put on all this hormone replacement. It was like, this was, it was bad. So I gained a lot of weight as a vegetarian. My thyroid shut down. I got a thyroid disorder. I had to be put on estrogen, progesterone, thyroid medication. When I finally agreed to say, okay, and I stopped. And it was also in the discovery, by the way, I couldn't eat gluten. I don't think anybody can eat gluten, but I certainly had the genetics that had me be atypical celiac. So at that point, I've ripped my GI tract down, because all you're eating is gluten and soy as a vegan. It's all fake, processed, ridiculous food. I mean, there's nothing on earth that a tofurkey makes any sense, but I ate it. So it's one of the most, for me, and most people I know, it's the most highly processed diets. It's just a vegetarian version of the standard American diet, stupid American diet. So it's very, very processed, very, very fake. That's what happened to me. So severe depression, severe hormone destruction, weight gain, definitely not cognitively well. I actually went through a very short period during the divorce where I had a couple panic attacks. I was almost homebound for 30 straight days at some point. So yeah, there's nothing about that. Yeah, I got lots of thoughts. So somebody asked me, we'll go through it. Actually, meat is the easiest thing for the GI system to digest. We're born for it. We're built for it. All right. Here we go. I think this is the easiest diet on earth. If you ask, like, we said, so how did I go there? I'm going to tell you why. Because when I eliminated plants, everybody got better. And I was like, this is crazy, because plants are full of toxins, really big toxins. I'm like, the whole talk's not going to be that, but I'm basically just coming out like, I'm very pro carnivore eating. I'm very pro zero carb. And I'm going to show you some of the diets, like the evolution. And I just want people to have choice, to know you can be healthy at any level within here. But if you're stuck, you might need to take it to another level. Okay. So let's say that's here. So we got the standard American diet, stupid American diet. Nobody's healthy there. Nobody's healthy. That's the worst diet on earth. I don't want anybody doing it. Okay? To me, the bare minimum of like something that's this would be what we would call paleo diet, right? And you can look that up. But see, the paleo diet, unfortunately, has gotten very commercialized, and most people I know are eating the same 12 foods over and over again in ginormous quantities, and most of that they're taking plant foods that they're thinking are called superfoods like spinach and kale and almond and coconut, and they're eating disgusting amounts of it. You are not designed to crush up a bunch of almonds and turn it into milk, crush up a bunch of almonds and turn it into cake, turn it into bread, because you would never sit around and eat that many almonds. So there's a lot of downsides to this. A lot of people can feel really, really well for a couple years, and then it's going to start to feel like crap, and they're not going to understand why. There's a number of reasons. A primary plant toxin is oxalates, and that's a very big problem for a lot of people, and detoxing people from oxalate poisoning takes time. So a lot of people think when they switch a diet, oh, that's making me sick. Nope, you're finally dumping some of the poisons, and there's a lot of plant toxins. There's some really cool people who've done. Georgia Ede is a physician, a psychiatrist, and her stuff on the plants is just epic as far as I'm concerned. So paleo works for a lot of people, and there's versions of this that I think get better. I think the Epi Paleo by Jack Kruse takes it a little bit, better. And so why have these become popular? Because our ancestors, right, Paleolithic people, we've been on this earth about 3 million years, you guys, okay? And how we were eating 2 million and 3 million years ago is very different than today. If you look at what they were eating a million years ago, what humans were eating, very different than 100,000 or 200,000. I mean, very similar, except so about 200,000, so we started using fire. So we started cooking things. But for the majority of people on this earth, there weren't any vegetarians, by the way. There were no such things as a vegetarian culture. There is no indigenous natural living tribe anywhere on earth that ever was a vegetarian. That only started when the kind of new religions came in and started talking about that and telling people there was something better about it. All right, so let's just start telling a little bit of truth. These people all over Earth at this time, their diets were 90% to 100% animal. So let's just say 10% of your diet only were plants. That's how we lived for millions and millions of years. And in that 10% of the plants that they ate 100 to 200 different plants in the year. So they're eating small amounts of plants and using them really like medicine, herbs, and just when there was nothing around, when they had no actual food, which they considered meat, they would we got to eat a tuber or a root or something if it was the fasting was just getting to be too much. So people weren't eating it by choice, and only 10% of their diet for millions and millions and millions of years. That's how we're evolved. That's what our DNA is designed to do. I don't even care if you how much Neanderthal or Nordic DNA you have. If you have a ton of that, you better be eating a lot of meat, because that's what you are really, really, really. But in general, we haven't branched off that much in our human DNA. Our mitochondrial DNA has changed a little bit, but we're not that different on a human level, right? So that's why these diets are becoming popular. But people are still not eating 90% of the diet in meat when they're doing this. It's really, really heavy vegetables. People are obscene. Kale smoothies are just everywhere. That's something natural, These people did not have a Blendtec or a Vitamix in the forest or the jungle or the savannah, right? So how could you eat these types of things? Because you didn't have all that equipment and fancy pressure cooking. If you got to do all that weird stuff to food to make it safe, I would say you probably shouldn't eat it unless you really had to, okay? So as we go from here, and in general, it's getting to be less plants and less plants. So one of the other layers that people get into was low carb, high fat. So we're getting into less and less carbs and more fat, and how you get that typically is by adding a little bit more meat. People get better, they jump down because they're like, my symptoms, I need a little bit more help. Then you have something that's called keto, right? Ketogenic diets, used medicinally for seizures and cancer and a bunch of other things, and people are using it like crazy for type 2 diabetes management. So it's taking it a little bit further. You're having to test and do your blood and check your ketones and your blood sugar. I've done all of this, by the way, you guys. I've tracked all of these things. I think I've done videos on all of these things, right? This can be highly effective. I love this diet. If somebody's getting results with that, I do know especially women are being advised some really ill-advised ways with this, because the majority of people who are out there teaching this stuff are men. And you have to remember, a woman's body is very different than a man's body. Acting like we're all the same is just ridiculous to me. And I'm an ovulating woman. I am different than a postmenopausal woman. So there's no shame in this, you guys. It's part of my strength, and the reality of that my hormones are so different that I have 4 weeks in my cycle. Every week in that, I'm hormonally very different. My energy level will be different. My strength will be different. My coordination will be different. My libido will be different. My appetite will be different. My body's ability to hold on to weight or lose weight changes. And if you know that, and you're working with a nutritionist or dietitian or a personal trainer, if they don't understand that about a woman when she walks into the gym, where she is in that cycle and where she is and when they should be recommending that she try a new diet or try fasting, if they don't know that, you're setting a woman up to fail. And the majority of practitioners that I hear don't seem to understand this. And they do the same keto plan for a 35-year-old guy that they do for a 45-year-old woman. They can't figure out why she's gaining weight, she's getting fat, she's getting tired, and she's losing all her hair. And they think, oh, it's detox. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not healthy for her. You're not doing it right, okay? We're different. But I do like this as well. People get amazing results. I find it, a lot of people, again, I deal with my practice, a lot of anxiety, depression, OCD, undermethylating, like on a high histamine driven competitive people. This can become very obsessive compulsive with all the tracking and the timing and the this and the this and my macros and blah, blah, blah. It's stressful in and of itself to keep track of it, right? Plus there's like cooking. I'm a person, let me tell you why I think it's the easiest diet on earth. I hate cooking. I don't like to read a recipe. The worst thing on earth you can do is invite me to a cooking party. I don't want to do any of it. I don't find it enjoyable. I don't find it sexy. So many of you who are foodies, you know, you'll live real well and you'll optimize your health and your pleasure in kind of this space, I think. You know, I'm not, and I don't care. And some of my foodies are making themselves sick by staying in this space. They're becoming like married to this and all the cooking, and it's the only pleasure they get. And they eat the food and they keep getting sick. They have the same arthritis. They have the same inflammation. They have all the same misery and depression and bloat and distension. Somebody asked a question, do I might gas or bloat? No, you're going to have zero gas, bloating, distension. Eating meat only makes you have the flattest stomach you've ever experienced. There is no gas. I do not fart. I don't have stinky poop. I don't have any of that. When I get my patients off of it, they can't believe it either. Like, oh my God, I thought that was normal. I thought everybody had that all the time. I just thought that's what we did. No, actually, that's like saying menstrual cramps are normal. They're not. If you have them, you have some type of hormonal disorder that needs to be addressed. It's not normal. All right? So, again, some people can play out here really, really well. I find it to be a big pain. So then we come in here and we have what would be referred to as, so then it's less carb, right? We're getting less and less carb. Now we got zero carb, what we would call carnivore. I just think it's so easy. I've eliminated so much stress in my life because my choices are steak, burger, and that's about it. So New York strip, filet mignon, ribeye. My shopping life is easier. My everything is easier. My time, energy, investment, and all of it. I just eat a bunch of meat and it's amazing. Sugar cravings are going to go down. You're going to gain muscle. You're going to lose fat. You're going to get better sleep. That's about all I'm going to say much about it. But it's basically my moment of coming out to say, I've gone through all these. This is where I think, some of you are going to do well with paleo, fine. But please stop mega dosing some of these plants. There's a lot that goes into plants defending themselves with poisons. And plants I'm going to categorize, vegetable is not a fruit, okay? They're very different. I would say a fruit kind of wants you to eat it because it wants you to spread its seed. It makes itself shiny and sweet and like sparkles and like, ooh, look at me, berry, right? But eating a berry when you're walking, so there's a lot of people, I might in the spring go to a strawberry patch or a blueberry and pick some and eat them. Okay, I'm not into being like dogmatic on these are my rules and I'm the strict thing, but that's very different than me having them shipped in from Australia in the middle of January in Atlanta. There aren't any berries here. There aren't vegetables really growing here right now, so you really shouldn't be eating them. Doesn't make any sense to your body, right? And I have whole talks about light frequency, right? All food is anyway is just captured light. And I just want you to know we're living in a really unnatural, dangerous environment, and managing your nutrition that you put in your mouth is one way that you can really control the amount of misinformation you're putting into your body, overwhelm you're putting into your body. And I find that so many women especially are working really hard and not really smart, and you're not getting the results you want. You got this extra 15 pounds, you have the hormonal issues, you think you got to go to the gym. I do not exercise at all, you guys. And I'm not saying I don't value exercise, and movement's amazing. I have a major back injury that I've been dealing with from the mold biotoxin breaking down my body, going after my nerves. I'm repairing myself from a massive inflammatory issue from something coming in and eating me up from the inside out, right? So I'm going after this, trying to rebuild an entire human body with healthy stuff by eating a ton of meat. And there's a great website. It's called meatheals.com. There's a lot of doctors out here who are doing this now. There's a lot of information. There's people who've been doing this for decades that are very public about it and have posts about it. And you should see what they look like. They're thin and muscular and vibrant, and they've recovered themselves from tremendous disorders, autoimmune disorders, mysterious things such as Lyme, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, thyroid disorders, very bizarre, lots of like rheumatoid arthritis, difficult things like that. So I will say, and I got a lot of people I'm putting through it, and they're kind of stunned, like they're losing weight like crazy, they feel better. Yeah, sometimes they go, I'm getting bored with just eating steak. I'm like, I don't know, it's up to you. When I typically will tell a man, this is what I want you to do. They just kind of, I swear they're like almost in love with me. They go, really? Because my wife is not, can you call my wife and tell her you're saying I can eat more steak? I said, yeah. It's not just eat more steak. You got to stop eating all the other stuff because there's some magic that happens. So I want you guys to all eat more meat anyway. But when you really take the zero carb out, give yourself 30 days at least. I'd say go for 90. Do a little experiment. You could try it out, but do some research, read some of the stuff. I can even put some links down there. But I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of going this way. Meat does absolutely not cause cancer. There's been some horrible World Health Organization that's total dogma, and Georgia Ede has ripped it apart. She's a practicing psychiatrist that actually works at Harvard, and she uses functional nutrition, and she was a keto, paleo keto person that's gone completely carnivore and upgraded to health. There's entire centers. There's one in Bulgaria. This is all they do, and they're healing people left and right with it, because again, how we ate for millions of years was 90% animal. And now we're eating about 10% animal and 90% processed, right? And I'll tell you, like in your muscles only get 2 signals to know how to grow. One would be strenuous exercise, lifting something and making it rip apart and, lifting weights, throwing lugs, heavy work, jugs of water, whatever. And then the other one is eating 30 grams of protein. So you want to eat 30 grams of protein 3 times a day. So I just eat meat and my body knows, oh, build muscle. It just does it automatically. That's it. And when I get strong enough and when I feel healed enough and when my body's regenerated enough and I want to go actually throw some more weight around and do all that micro trauma back to my body, because that's what that is. It's a lot of trauma. And I feel like I can do that. Great. But I know many of you are pushing, I gotta wake up at 5:30 and do it. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You aren't repairing or recovering your body by doing that. So one of my big suggestions, one of the best ways you're gonna lose weight, try to eat meat and water for 30 days. One of the best ways you're gonna start bringing inflammation down, meat and water, 30 days. One of the best ways you're gonna manage your insulin blood sugar issues, just eat meat and water. Eat like 3 times a day and eat a lot of it. I eat about 2 pounds of meat a day, at least. I mean, I had like a 14-ounce ribeye and a giant thing of mussels for dinner last night. I've already eaten New York strip today, 3 eggs, like 4 or 5 pieces of bacon, and I'm hungry because I didn't have a chance to eat because I've been on interviews all day. So there's a lot more information about it, but this is, you guys, it's free. You're going to eat anyway. start looking up, well, what is this zero carb thing all about? Get in some of the Facebook groups. I really like the Women Carnivore Tribe. It's a very gentle place for women to go to. There's also the World Carnivore Tribe. It's much bigger, a little bit more kind of aggressive tone, so maybe some men would like that. I don't play around in that group too much. But where people, you can read posts, look up things, look at questions. You know, sometimes people ask, well, what do you eat on it? I'm like, I don't know what you didn't understand about eating meat, but can you eat pork if you want? Some people have an inflammation response to pork. Some people don't. You're going to have to listen to your body. And again, I take patients through a transition period at times. Sometimes you shouldn't just start all the way carnivore, because if you've been living out in here too long, you might have a whole lot of oxalates. You might have some, you know, really interesting stuff going on in your GI tract. But you know, we just sometimes work people through. To go from here to here is really easy. Obviously, to go from here to here, it would be a lot harder, right? So there's a big thing. Vegetarians and, you know, anybody, these docs who come out and they're saying this is what we do, and I am a big fan of it as of right now. I've done it on myself for a while. I feel good. Again, already a couple things. Meat is easier to digest than anything else you're going to eat. Our stomach is super high acid. My stomach acid could rip through, you know, razor blades, metal. That's how strong it just takes apart meat, no problem. Super clear evidence. People who have the bags that they have to have, right? So we see what's in there. There's no meat in there. There's if they eat vegetables, there's all this vegetable waste and fiber waste and all this undigested stuff. Not meat. They see the meat gets digested completely. Gets absorbed right away. It's like a wives' tale that stuff's hard to digest. I don't even get where it's coming from. Other than, again, if you're breading it if you're putting bread around it and frying it up in flour and putting it in soybean oil, yeah, you probably have a hard time digesting that, because that's not really meat anymore. All right. All right. You guys, I'm gonna leave it at that. Easiest diet on earth. Oh, and if you're actually dealing with like food allergies, food sensitivities, leaky gut, I don't know if any parent, you know, of an autistic child or something has ever been recommended to do a food rotation diet where every 4 days you do something based on your IgE and IgA and IgG testing. It's a freaking nightmare. Everyone's like, oh my God. And so they all just quit. And I said, well, why don't you just eat meat? Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, just eat that. It's so easy. And this eliminates, by the way, I don't take collagen supplements anymore. I don't have to drink bone broth, all the bone broth, collagen supplements, and I've eliminated all of them, because you only need to do that if you're consuming all these carbs that your body has to like combat to kind of get out. So you save a lot of money, actually. Yeah, I'm feeling good. So I have no desire. I don't actually like vegetables. So this was like, what? I'm like, well, let me try it. And now it all makes sense. I mean, it's been making sense. We're researching it, and I'm like, well, it fits me really well. And so a lot of you are forcing yourself to eat things that you really don't like, and you've been told lies about how good something is for you based on no science whatsoever, and told other lies that something is bad for you, again, based on no real science whatsoever. It's a lie. So the Inuits, Native Americans, all these Maasai tribes, all these ancient cultures, they did not have cancer. They had less cancer rates than anybody else, and they ate nothing but meat. So meat doesn't cause cancer. And Georgia E proved it. So anyway, I'll see you later, guys. But there it is.